pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
A motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, Board of Ed acknowledgements, we don't have any, employees of the month, there we go. So we'll just go ahead and roll on with principals if you have anything, anybody.
We require our teachers to put in anybody that failed a class in a spreadsheet so we know what to do for summer makeup work. And I checked the spreadsheet on Friday. We had 32 Fs out of more than 4,000 classes that our students completed in the spring semester. I'd say that's pretty good work by our teachers at the high school. Really pleased with that. Our KAY group was just recognized by KSHA for all their community service activities they did this year, and were recognized with a gold rating at the end of the school year, which is really nice for Megan Ross and her group. Our graduation rate was 100% for the third year in a row, which I'm really excited about. And then the last thing is, you probably saw my board report, I tried my best to update the out-of-school date form to reflect the comments that we had. So if you've got any questions or feedback about that, just let me know. Thanks.
Activities kind of wrapped up. It was a kind of a rainy, wild week, I guess. Not really week, wild weekend for the state track. Baseball got fourth, played one of the best games, one of the worst games I've ever seen them team play. The Thursday game was the absolute down best game.
It wasn't even.
And then we didn't, luckily got moved to Manhattan, and so that was a good move on the state's part. I can't really speak for the rest of softball and track and everything else. State track had some pretty good performances. We didn't have any state champions this year. They ended up getting home, I believe, around 2 or 3 o'clock Sunday morning from state track for all the rain delays that they had down there. And then we had one individual golfer made it to second day state. I think he placed 27th or 28th, but Broker made it through second day. So congrats to him for doing that. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you. Mark?
Just want to give a shout out to our 2 custodians that we have right now, because they're working hard already getting our building ready for the next school year, which is crazy to think about, but it's going to be here quick. We've got summer tutoring going on in our building, and so kind of excited about that. We actually have quite a few kids that are signed up with that. We got a couple of teachers that are working with them, and then we also have a leaps camp. And I don't know the number of kids that we have that are involved with that this year. Workforce done that for the last several years. Already had volleyball camp, so that was crazy. We had a lot of kids running around the building last week, which is always kind of odd when they leave and then they're right back and there they are, and so it just never ends. And then Nick Timmers is doing something different with our football teams this year, and he kind of put them in groups where they're kind of teamed up, and so he's doing individual kind of game activities with them, I think once a week, and so that was kind of cool to see them out there last Friday doing that. So a lot of good things going on.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, an exciting end to the year. Jamie Oshel hosted her first field day as an elementary PE teacher, and we were able to get that in despite the rain that Monday, that last week of school. Lots of fun. We were excited to have Ann Barker named Young Educator of the Year. Very deserving. She does a lot of unique things in the music program, so we were excited for her. And then Jill Thomas as support staff. She's a para that's been with us for a long time and very deserving. And then in my board report, I showed our state assessments. We were very proud of our kids. Not only did every grade level raise their average from last year, but also if you look at it longitudinally, like 3rd graders last year, 4th graders this year raised their average as well. So we were very proud of how hard our kids worked.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Wrapped up the year strong in Cottonwood as well. Had our move-up day. Our 2nd graders went up to visit Sunflower on the 14th, and then we got our field trip in on our field day on May 15th, timed really nicely, or perfect weather that day. Then finally wrapped up with our family picnic on the 20th. We are currently monitoring our incoming kindergarten class. As of today, we're sitting at 87 kindergarten students that are signed up. 14 of those are out of district that have applied and are expecting to be approved. So a little bit difference in numbers. We're still hoping to pick some more up over the summer, and then in August when we return, anticipate a few more, but certainly something to keep our eyes on and to continue to monitor that situation. We are also doing summer tutoring over here at the district office, so it's have a little bit different setting, but are getting some good instruction from our teachers and some enrichment for that. And then also our Jumpstart will begin the end of July and the 1st of August as well, kind of give those kids a head start on the school year. So
Awesome.
updated.
Thank you.
You bet.
Jeff, did you say that the wording was in your board report?
Yes,
I don't see it.
is it not?
I don't see it. I only see like charts with,
Scroll down, like it just kept going and going and
I only
going.
have 3 pages.
Yeah, it's not there.
I guess I misspoke.
No, you're totally all right. I just want to make sure I didn't.
Well, I will
Miss it.
put it in the next one.
Perfect,
Yeah.
perfect. That sounds great. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miss it
Sure.
somewhere else. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other board acknowledgements before we move on?
The only thing I would say is, this is Darren's last meeting as assistant principal and AD, and so he'll be back with us in a different role this fall, but we will miss his services where he's currently at, and he's been a good one, so.
Awesome. Thank you. for
And we
your time.
appreciate him coming tonight, even though I did tell him, I said, you don't have to come tonight. And he's like, nope, I'm gonna finish it, so, not surprising.
Matt, I'm not sure what happened to my board report. It's on the document that I had. Maybe I added it after it was captured and included.
Oh,
Could have been, I don't know. Send it, if you wanna just email it to me, and I can email it out.
Perfect.
I will do that.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, next up is our information discussion items. The first one being the building needs assessment, state assessment results, and end of year data presentation with Amy.
Okay. So we have to go over our state assessment results, and I want to preface it with saying we still don't have all of our results back. We don't have district-wide results, and we don't have the subgroup results for us to really dig in and see what's happening. So I just wanted to preface that, but what we do have, it looks fantastic, and so I'm excited to share that with you. And then from that, we work on our building needs assessment, and I gather all that from the different buildings, and so they'll also be able to answer any questions you might have. So we put that all together, and that creates the building needs assessment. So that's what we're gonna be looking at. So it starts with just some of the information about each one of our buildings, the demographics. You can see the enrollment there. We've talked about this before, how it looks going down into those younger grade levels. We're starting to see that smaller number, but you can see at the high school we're still at 581. And you can also see students with an IEP, and you'll notice that goes down as they get older, and part of that has to do with speech IEPs. Those fall off at middle school, and so you'll see that number start to go down. Percent of ELL students is higher at Cottonwood, but still under 5%. Percent of at risk at each building, you can see 35, 36, those are very similar numbers, 33, and then we drop down to 25 at the high school, and a lot of that is just due to the age as well. And our pupil to teacher ratio is pretty similar across the buildings, with high school obviously being the highest as we would expect. Attendance, very similar across all 4 buildings, 95, 95, 94.9, so basically 95, and then 94.3. So very, very similar across all. Our chronic absenteeism, 10.98, 8.5, 12, and 16.3. And so that's a spot that we always try to work on. Again, if we had the answer to how to fix that across the board, we would all be millionaires, but we're gonna keep working on that. And our graduation rate, again, 100%. That's really awesome. So just a reminder about what the state assessment is. It is a measure of the grade level standards. It's not going to tell you if your student is above grade level, on grade level. It's a measure of how they're performing on the grade level standards. So a level 1 needs a limited ability to demonstrate that knowledge. Level 2 is basic, level 3 is proficient, and level 4 is advanced. And so again, this is just a measure on grade level standards. And so we'll start with ELA. As Stacy mentioned, our results were really good. We're really excited about sharing them. This is our benchmark number 1. If you remember back to last month when I talked about our KISA goals, that they are going to measure us on our state assessments according to certain benchmarks. And this is benchmark number 1. This is the average scale score in comparison to the state. So you can score between 400 and 700. And so this shows our average score at each grade level versus what the state average score is. And then the performance margin is how much higher we are than the state. And so you can see at every grade level we were higher than the state, and a couple of grade levels significantly higher than the state average in ELA. So that is something right there to be proud of at every grade level at or above state average. And so this is the second benchmark that we talk about. This is that percent of students at scoring at a level 3 and 4. And this is the one that we look at, level 3 and 4. Level 2 is going to be great for some kids, but other kids, we don't know if they went backwards. So the level 2 is hard to judge. So for some it's a celebration, and for others we want to keep pushing them forward to 3 or 4. And so that's why we look at level 3 and 4. This is considered proficient, but you can see across all the grade levels, we are higher than the state students at percent of 3 and 4. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a minute. And then this shows it across the last 5 years. And obviously last year was the first year for the new test. So we're really comparing apples and oranges when we go back past the last year, but I just wanted to show you a 5-year trend. And you can see across almost all of the grade levels, our scores for this year, which is in the very dark blue, were higher than they were last year, with 3rd grade and 7th grade just being slightly lower than they were last year, but very, very similar. And if you look at the trend across the district, obviously we don't have our district scores yet, but I like to look at that, and we are going up, we are growing, which is what you might see. This is our 3rd benchmark that we will be looking at. This is our students that are scoring that level 1. We want to try to push them into level 2 or higher. And so you can see though, we are below the state, which is where we want to be on this one, for every single grade level. Every single grade level below the state average in reading at 1%. That's where we want to be. And again, this is the trend over the last 5 years. You can see, if you kind of squint your eyes a little bit, every trend is going down the right direction. So we want those scores to be going down, not going up. We want the percent of students in level 1 to be going down. And then you do have this in front of you. I printed this out because sometimes it's hard to see on the screen, but you have a flyer for each ELA, math, and science. And then on that flyer is this information. But this just shows you a breakdown of our level 1 performance and our level 3 and 4 performance, and how much we are different than the state percentage-wise. So again, this just shows you if you're a numbers person or you're a visual person, this is just another way of looking at it besides the chart. So you can see on our level 1 for performance for ELA, we are lower than the state, which is where we want to be. And then for our 3 and 4, we are higher than the state, which is where we want to be. So a couple of things I just want to point out. What this demonstrates is that system-wide, we have come up with a good system for intervening with students that are struggling. And so system-wide alignment is really showing up in this in regards to that we are fewer than the state in our kids that are in level 1. And where that really shows out is if you look at grade 10, they have 17% of the students that took that test in level 4 versus 11% of the students that took the test in level 1. So they have more students scoring in level 4 than in level 1, which that's phenomenal. And so that's a culmination of all of their years in our schools. So that's fantastic. And then if you look at 5th grade, 71% of the kids scored at level 3 and 4. 71%. All right, so let's move on to math. Did you have any questions about ELA? Okay. So for math, we're going to go through the same thing again. This first benchmark, our average scale score between 400 and 700, and how we compare to the state. The only grade level that we were not above the state average in was 7th grade, and it was a 2-point difference, which is one student, maybe. And so you can see that though 6 out of the 7 higher than the state average. And this is our second benchmark, and this is the percent of students at 3 and 4, and you can see that we were higher than the state, about the same as the state, and just slightly lower at that 3rd grade level coming in than the state at percent of 3 and 4. And then here's the trend across the last 5 years. And something I would like to point out on this one too is that 6 out of the 7 grade levels here, again, trended higher this year than they did even last year. So that's what we want to see. We want to continue to see that. And this is a really great slide here in regards to showing how much we are different than the state and our students that are at level 1. So again, this is one we want to be well below the state in, and we are. Am I out of time? I thought maybe Justin said that. All right. No, you're good. So again, if you look at the trend across the last 5 years, we are going down, which is again on this slide where we want to be. And you do have this in front of you. This is the math, our benchmark 2 and our benchmark 3. And you can see at all 7 grade levels, we were lower than the state and our students in level 1, which again is where we want to be. And then in 3 and 4, we were higher than the state in 5 out of the 7 of them. And then in 1, we were exactly the same, and then 1 slightly below. And so a couple of things to point out on this, again, is just across the board, our interventions that we're doing to get students out of level 1. And then 4th and 5th grade, those are significantly high percentages there, especially at 5th grade, 64% in level 3 and 4. And then also I want to point out 8th grade there at 53%, 12% higher than the state average. So we're preparing them for that next level of that next high school as they move on to high school. And then in science, we did not get 11th grade scores back yet. They're being scaled this summer. They didn't give them back last summer because there was something, they didn't quite want to send those out due to something with the test, and then they're scaling them this summer. So we should hopefully have those in the fall. But you can see for 5th and 8th grade, again, higher than the state average and lower than the state average in level 1, and then higher than the state average in levels 3 and 4 with like a 16% mastery lead there in grade 8 on science. So what this shows is across the board, our teachers and our students are doing what they need to do in the classroom and learning those standards. Is there growth that we can do? Absolutely. There's always growth that we can look for. But I just want to point out how phenomenal our buildings are doing in regards to teaching the standards and really getting aligned with what we need to be teaching. So when we look at the state assessment, we need to look for things that could be potential barriers for getting students to proficiency. Some are going to be assessment related, some are going to be non-assessment related. And this is where we look at these as we move into the building needs assessment. And so you have in your board report all of the spreadsheets that each of the buildings culminated. And instead of scrolling through all of those pages of spreadsheets, I summarized it here for you. And so each of the buildings has some certain things that they're considering needs. And when you look at Cottonwood, a lot of it has to do with behavior coming in, social emotional concerns coming in, and then the staff development that will need to take place in order to continue that training, especially within regards to our new reading curriculum, standards alignment, and balanced assessment. And so those are things that are considered barriers for Cottonwood. For Sunflower, again, we're talking about those social emotional demands that we're trying to meet. Something that they brought up was extracurricular childcare, the before and after school issue of not having childcare before and after school, not having a dedicated place for those students to go. And then facility issues with the before and after school pickup and drop off, just some bottlenecking that's been reported when they talked about it in their site counselor with parents. And then again, just that need for staff professional development Remember, for KISA, our goal is professional collaboration, and so that is something that continues to be a need for us, that time to be able to have that and focus on our standards alignment and working through that new reading curriculum. For PMS, again, that staff professional development, that time is needed. That's a barrier for them in regards to trying to find that time for the professional collaboration and working through those standards alignment. There's some facility modernization that needs to happen. There's a need there in regards to some repairs and some classroom modernizations. And then again, some social emotional vulnerabilities for those students as they go through that middle school time period. For a high school, there's an assessment infrastructure that we are currently working on attacking. So right now, they don't have anything that they take universally, especially 9 and 10. So we are working on that, and we're going to be attacking that, and I'll share on that in the next slide. Again, a barrier for staff professional development, looking at that time, looking at the time to have that time to talk to each other and that professional collaboration. So there's some development that needs to happen there. And then again, those attendance vulnerabilities, going back to that chronic absenteeism, that's a barrier for us in getting students into that proficiency. As far as actions that we're already taking and some of the resources, I'll go backwards this time. So for the high school, we are resequencing some math. We are doing something where students are going to have math every day. Those students with the highest need, they will have math every day next year. We're going to start doing some interim testing, and then we're also going to be doing fast bridge testing pre-K through 10, both fall and spring, for ELA and math next year. And so that will be a cycle that we will continue every year so that we can have that opportunity to dig in and look for student growth. And then again, our KISA goal, professional development, and looking at professional collaboration and really getting aligned not only with our standards but also with what we're instructing, and does that align to what we're being tested on. For our PMS, we're going to be looking at, again, that targeted training and that professional development, attacking some of those things that we know that we need to do in regards to interns and mini tests, and developing some common assessments. And then continue our work with our 7 Mindsets curriculum, which all buildings do. And then some level up groups where they work on some intervention in regards to getting students up to task with their standards. For Sunflower, they do a lot of strategic progress monitoring. A lot of data diving, a lot of attacking where students need the extra support. We do a reading and a math intervention. We have reading specialists who have title, and then they also have a math interventionist. And then as far as extracurricular activities, giving students those opportunities to do something before or after school outside of the school day. For Cottonwood, we're looking at our ASQ data. We're doing a kindergarten readiness event, trying to work on getting those students ready and really knowing what we have coming in the door and how we're going to be able to help. And involving our parents, involving our community. How do we get our parents and our community involved? So offering those opportunities for them to get in the door and work with us as a partner. And then also providing some targeted training again with that professional development. So this is a summary of what you have in front of you. It's multiple, you can go through every page of that spreadsheet, but this is a summary of what that is. And then you also have a summary of that, the building needs assessment as a page that you will take action on, but it'll be up to you guys. So that's all I have in regards to providing you with the information, but if you have questions, all of us are able to answer those, so.
On the data tracking, I had mentioned that I had concerns probably 6 or 8 months ago, and I just wanted to say thank you for finding a way to implement FastBridge.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep, that was a team decision, and we know that we needed to do that. Absolutely.
Has it been looked at, and maybe it has, or maybe there just hasn't been time? It looks like the 7th grade is kind of that sticker that's just kind of on that state line bubble. Everybody else is either really above or below in those, and not that it's a bad thing. Just it's one of those things that, as a teacher, I always thought, what what's ticking there or what's not ticking.
Right.
Or what factors, I guess, have gone into,
So I would like
that
one
group.
more year to really say, okay, there's a trend there.
Yeah.
Because 2 years is just really not statistically good to be able to say, oh, there's a trend there.
Right.
3 years, yes, but is it worth noting? Absolutely. Are we
Yeah.
looking at that? Yes.
Okay.
So one of the things that I forgot to mention is that math is up this year for adoption, and so we'll be spending a lot of time
Yeah.
looking at different math resources, and there could be just a curricular thing there.
Sure.
But also, I know that the state says, oh, we're just gonna look at it by grade level, but our school is small enough that each one of our classes has a personality.
Right.
And 1 or 2 or 5 students can really skew that data.
Yeah.
Whereas a big school, their data is gonna stay pretty similar because they have enough students to make that up for statistics. But for us, so we keep that in mind.
Right.
Even though we're not supposed to do that, we know that
Sure.
each class is gonna have
Yeah.
a personality.
There's
So that's definitely something that
factors
we're.
outside, and even factors outside
Yeah.
of
Absolutely.
our control.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Which
Just
are those,
control.
yeah, which
Yeah.
are those barriers we talked
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say how impressed I am with Sunflower with the math, or the middle school science and high school English. It's clear not just that they're teaching the course, but they're actually teaching students how to love to learn, and that's a big difference. And that reflects in the test scores.
Yeah, awesome. Absolutely. Okay. All right, if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, next, the KASB policy updates with Matt.
Yeah, excuse me, so, in your board packet, you have the June, KSB recommendations. On these, it's quite lengthy, there's like 18 policies, a majority of them are a result of statute, changes for both the state and federal level. One of them has to do, it's the same exact, policy, they just put it in there because a couple of the districts, make sure that they didn't miss it, and that was the cell phone piece, and some social media updates. But the other piece, like on some of these, and I've uploaded them the way they've come to us from KSB. So for instance, if you were to compare it like to a current policy and so forth, the JBCC enrollment of non-resident students, ours is gonna look just a little bit different because we have the definition of a student in good standing. We actually spell some of that stuff out, and so our policy would have a few other details in it that this one doesn't. And so next month, when I have been I've read through all of them, I want to dive into them even more. Then when I make recommendations next month for approval, like that, those changes that the board has previously approved would be put into that policy. So I just clarify that because I don't want you to go through and go, okay, well, why we did this last time, that's why I haven't got to that level yet. Happy to answer questions at this point, but really trying to get them in front of you so you have time to look at them, and because it's more than just a sitting down and getting through it in an hour. So
I didn't have to read them all before this meeting.
more I'm glad you did, and I did too, but.
It's not policy related, but it is something that I've thought about. You mentioned the cell phone policy. Do we have anything, or are we planning to have something that we can distribute to the public, to our families about the cell phone, like the details of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that will be what we send out. So I've sent out something that we're gonna have some changes.
Right.
But we will then send it out district-wide in August
Okay.
as we get ready for.
Okay.
the
I've
start
seen
of
other
school.
districts putting things out there, and it was something that I was gonna ask about.
Yeah, I didn't, I just don't want it to get lost over
Sure.
the summer, so
Sure.
that's why I wanted to hit something just, hey, FYI, and then we'll have the actual changes and stuff.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the board on the policy updates? All right, next is building tour meetings for 26-27 with Matt.
Yeah, I just need feedback if the board would like to continue with the, we've done it on a Tuesday morning, not that if there's anything special about a Tuesday morning, usually, because this morning we don't take to Monday. If the board would like to continue those, To the buildings, we did it twice last year. We did not hit last, like the Hillsdale or, sorry, Hillsdale, or alternative school, which those are two buildings that we can do in addition to, in place of. I just need to know what the board desires, because I like to put it on the July, when we make all of our approvals, that way that's our first notice to go ahead and get them scheduled. The only thing I would say is if we have it, I would just ask, I know mornings are hard sometimes, but to try to make sure that we're there to be a part of it. But
Tuesdays and Thursdays are extremely difficult for me with preschool drop off on top of regular school drop off.
She'll
So-
be Monday, Wednesday, Friday next year though.
She's doing Holy Tea, but
Oh,
the
are
next
they
one's
Tuesday, Thursday?
Adeline's Tuesday, Thursday, so she'll be moving into that class.
So you'll have one every morning in preschool?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
so we'll do it with what the board wants, and if you want to continue it, that's fine. If there's a day of the week that you want, what we did is if there was, if it's just coming to visit classrooms, like the first semester we visited classrooms, those usually started, I want to say just before 8 o'clock, and then we visited classrooms and so forth for an hour or so. If the second semester, we usually started at 7, so so the administrators could make a presentation to the board about some of what they have going on. And that was just, so that was done before class actually started.
So before we started these, I vaguely remember like there was a series of meetings where admin like gave a presentation of what was going on in their school. Did we kind of make that what, like the school board tours, if we kind of wrapped that all into one?
And the different boards have done different things. And so there was, if there are not building tours in the past or building meetings, then the presentations that you would hear, they usually do during a board meeting during the second semester, so
Okay.
January through April
So
is what
those
they've done.
presentations happen regardless, correct? Okay.
I
Yeah.
personally love going to the schools. That was one of my favorite things. I think that I would love to do that again and go to Hillsdale and the alternative school.
What
I would
if,
love to do that.
what if we did them once through the year? Like, so we're not meeting them twice in the year, but just doing it, maybe to give a little bit more space to it, instead of trying to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meetings.
And you
Each
could probably
semester.
reduce it to 5 if you wanted, because we could hit the alternative center at the same time. Like we could go to you could piggyback it off any of them, but I would say usually the high school, so they could have that presentation and visit here, and then we can just
That way, maybe,
go out.
I
So I
guess
can
it-
get it to,
yeah.
we could do that, and it could be 5, and
Yeah.
we can spread it out over, say 10 months. Probably, well, we probably wouldn't do August, but,
Yeah.
because we're just starting, but, so we might have a couple back to back.
I was just
But I
thinking,
can spread
trying
that
to
out.
maybe stretch them out. If getting there is a struggle, maybe it would help. That way we're not.
I like going into the buildings as well.
And say, I really like the presentations because it gives us an opportunity to see the concerns that administrators have, and for us to be able to put eyes on what we're approving instead of just approving stuff willy-nilly sometimes. I mean,
Absolutely.
Matt, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say, I like how it's been formatted so far, if we're able to continue that. Whether or not, I know I didn't make all of it, but I think the morning will be good
Okay.
as far as for my schedule.
Is there a
Thank you.
day that like is just off limits for anyone? That couldn't be,
If it's better if it's not Tuesday or Thursday, but
okay.
if That's the date that only
Is
works.
there, I mean, literally, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I would probably recommend on a Friday, just because that tends to be, usually not as, I mean, but Mondays are, I mean, it literally, it doesn't matter, just what works best for you, let me backtrack. Is a 7 o'clock start time okay?
Yeah.
Because usually that, by the time they get there, and we're done with the presentation, kids are coming in, visit with kids as they're coming in, if they're eating breakfast and so forth. And then as the bell rings and visit some classrooms and I would still plan that we're done by 9. That way people can get to work.
So we'll say Monday 7 to 9, each building once, somewhere in the.
If Mondays are, I mean,
Sad.
if Mondays work for you guys, we'll make it work.
Sound, okay, all right, let's go
So-
with.
And then we're gonna do Hillsdale and then 4 buildings. And then alternative school being part of the high school.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, the last item for discussion is with Matt about the school attorney.
Yeah, so, as you all know, we use the Kansas Association of School Boards for a majority of what we, any legal questions that we have, especially if it's educational related stuff. If we have a need for local issues or to look through contracts and so forth, the board has for many, many years, used Lee Tatweiler as the board attorney, and he has notified me that he is going to retire at the end of June. And so, at this point, I would recommend that the board have an appointed attorney, or a firm, and so I need to know the desires of the board on how you would like to move forward. I have given you a little bit of information about 3 different firms that I'm aware of. One of them, I know Spring Hill uses one of the firms, and they work with other than just Spring Hill, but that was the one that came to mind. I know one of the firms, Lewisburg uses one of the firms, as Pleasant Hill, Missouri does, and then one of them works with a lot of municipalities. EMC Insurance utilizes that law firm, and I've done some work with them through here. So at this point, I guess there's multiple things the ways we can do this. I can, if you want to give me questions and get information and compile it and send it to you, I can do it that way. If you would like to have them come present at a board meeting, I could try to work on that. If there's a group, if the board wanted to say, hey, we'll have a couple board members, like a little subcommittee to meet with them or what have you, we can do that. There's a lot of different, and there's no right or wrong way to do this. So I just need some feedback in that regard. I'm trying to think, really, I mean, they're all good. And so,
Are there any local attorneys?
I was just gonna say, what's the benefit of, like, you included bigger firms that didn't seem like they were local, whereas Lee was local, what's the cost or the benefit of one versus the other?
that they're working with municipalities, that they're working with. 2 of the firms work exclusively with, well, I shouldn't say that. One of them just works with educational institutions. And so they have, so for instance, and this isn't against Mr. Tedweiler at all, but if there was an education related question that I had for him, he was probably going to pick up the phone and talk to KSB. And so then I'm getting billed for a service that, if it came into that. I believe that having somebody that works with municipalities, that's why I went that way. If there's someone that you want me to look at locally, it's not because, there's good attorneys here in town. know what most districts and so forth utilize, and Lee's done it has been a long time, and to be honest with you, there was one issue that I had him work through, help with this year, and I mean, to put it in his terms, I don't make money off the school district because most of our stuff goes through KSB for the, day in, day out stuff. We utilize the service more when the bond, when we're doing bond projects, or if we have a big capital project, we need somebody to look for contracts, but.
I just like the connection to the community when you hire local. That's like Lee had a really good connection to the district in general.
If I remember correctly, Lee was, like, we paid him as needed, correct?
Yeah, that's how all these.
And this is what, okay.
Yeah, it's not I shouldn't
Not
say.
like a membership.
My understanding is, it's most of them, it's not like you're paying a yearly retainer. You're having that relationship, but you're only being billed as needed. And it's usually, on the quarter hour.
Is there anybody locally that we know that deals with education stuff?
I'm not aware of any.
I'm not sure, that's why I was wondering if there were any.
My experience with attorneys has been, they're all pretty specific, like field-wise. You're not gonna find a divorce lawyer intake, or a retirement attorney, those type of things.
So
Kind of
our
specific.
insurance company, EMC Insurance, so if we
Yeah.
have something that goes through them, then they contract with one of the firms. And they've represented many school districts. They've worked with, I know the county utilizes and works with that firm. It's Fisher Patterson, something, but,
County counselor right now.
what's that?
That's the county counselor right now.
Yeah. So, and they have multiple attorneys. I mean, I've actually, worked with 4 different ones from that group. They've all been really good, so.
I think the city of Osawatomie actually has a different law firm that might be good to look into.
I don't know the first thing about picking a lawyer, so full transparency.
That's not a bad thing.
Okay.
So if we were gonna pick somebody off your list, what would be the best way to noodle it down?
Well, I would want to get more information because I have not talked to any of them. I'm just telling you,
Okay.
here are some that I'm aware of that work with people in our area. I've had conversations. I mean, I have had conversations with all of those people and all of those firms. Because they'll present at a conference or what have you. But I have not reached out to any of them about the next step because I wanted to have this conversation first. So that information that I've given you is just information from my experience or information that I knew, just as a little snippet. And there's nothing, normally this is approved as part of the stuff in July. There's nothing has to be, it's not like you have to make a decision in July. It's not like we have to rush this piece.
I guess maybe I would want to know, like, what is their fee?
Sure.
Because I'm sure they differ.
It kind of sounds to me like we just need to give Matt some direction as to where we want him to go. And it seems to me, what's everybody's feelings about local versus specialized, I guess?
Well, the one,
That would maybe give him an area to go one way or the other. Does anybody have any feelings about to direct him in that way, I guess?
I say
As far
let
as the
him do
board.
the legwork, but also maybe just see if there are any local
Okay.
options available.
What I'll do is I will reach out to you because he knows them all. He's been good for us. He did make a recommendation on, and it was not a local, it was the firm that EMC uses, and so forth. So that was his, but I did not ask him specifically if there was anybody local, so I can definitely do that. He's gonna know like that, and
Right.
it's gonna save me. I mean, I'm calling a bunch of people, and they're like, well, why are you even, I mean, because they're busy and so forth, so.
I like local, but to me, being your specialty, like that's all you do is education, to me, that's,
Healing.
it inches over localized to me. That's my personal opinion. To know what you're doing inside and out and not having to call someone else like we did, not that that's a bad thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if he did the legwork and
Yeah.
then just presented it to us.
Right.
Hey, this guy's local, but it's not a specialty, whereas this guy's not local, but it is.
Right, right.
And I prefer if it would be a firm that was not used by another municipality within our county, just because if there's a conflict of interest ever, I don't know how they put that wall up. Does that make sense? Like if
Yes.
the county
I've
sued us
been
for
through all
something,
that.
something like that, which isn't remotely like,
Right.
Sure.
but. Or at least ask how they would handle it if that happened.
That is a good point, because if you had two zoning
Mhm.
issues with a neighboring district,
Yeah.
the same firm could be fighting.
I don't know that you have to worry about, you don't have to worry about school district to school district, but.
You would
I mean,
think not, but, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess you never say never. But I just don't, yeah.
Does that give you,
I'll do it, yeah.
okay.
I will do my
That's
best.
all we're asking is what you can.
What's that?
I said, that's all we're asking is what you
I will,
can.
I'll try to get information.
If it's not like super time sensitive and we need more information.
Yeah, no,
then great,
I'll continue to,
sure,
so this'll,
okay. Any other things needed to add to that part of the discussion? All right, we don't have any open forums tonight, so the next thing is to approve the building needs assessment. These were attached in your agenda on diligent. I guess, are there any questions? If there's no questions, do I have a motion to approve the building needs assessment?
A motion to approve the building needs
I
assessment.
have a motion, do I have a second?
Okay.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Can you give that to Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, 6-0. All right, next, Jimmy with the general insurance renewal, property and casual for 26-27 approval.
Yeah. So our district insurance policies, the terms match our fiscal year, so they're July 1 to June 30th. So every year at the June meeting is when we look at our renewal options and approve those for the next year. So you've got all that is in on the agenda and is available publicly as well. So I'll just kind of hit some highlights of it. Again, this is the time of year that we look at that. There's not a whole lot of options when it comes to insurance for us. If you remember, I think it was 24-25, there's an insurance pool in the state of Kansas that's growing, and they were pretty aggressive and wanted to quote our business as well. And when push came to shove, came down to it, they wouldn't even give us their proposal because they knew they weren't competitive. So I will say that EMC, our rates are really good, and we've always heard that a lot of the Miami County schools, because of a multitude of reasons, have some of the lowest rates property rates for EMC insurance. And I think that was true and proven with the pool not even being competitive, because there were other schools in the county, some that they did deliver their quote, and it was double or more higher than their current insurance. So they wouldn't even give us our quote. So, but there's not a whole lot of options out there. Thankfully for us, EMC did provide a pretty competitive, I guess I would describe it as, renewal this year. With all things insurance, of course, it depends on your usage and your loss ratio, much like you hear us talk about that with our health insurance. And we have not had the best of luck at times on those fronts. So again, a lot of this is the building, which until this year, we really had never utilized. So I'll touch back on that at the minute when I wrap up, about April 15th and the wonderful hailstorm that we're all dealing with. So I'll give you a little more details on that. But a lot of it, when it comes down to the buildings, I mean, we have a lot of property, and it's all pretty much centrally located here. So you can see in there, in the renewal information, they value our property at about $173 million. So we have a blanket limit in there. So I always point out kind of some of the exposure areas. You could always insure yourself broke, but $173 million is their value of our property. Our blanket coverage is $155 million, or 90% of that. So if every single thing in the campus was totally wiped out, we would be $17 million short to rebuild. Now the chances of that, are they huge? You know, not everything's on the campus. The Hillsdale building's far off. You know, some of the others are a little ways out, but a lot of it is right here. But again, that's just exposure that you should be aware of. This was a couple years ago too, that they made a conditional renewal on earthquake limitation, and we're limited at $25 million. There's getting to be more and more seismic activity. So is it, how likely is it? Probably not extremely likely. But we also have a big two-story high school too, that if there was ever a shifting of the ground and foundational issues over there, I couldn't imagine what that would cost. So again, just something to be aware of. $25 million earthquake coverage. And then last year, we had made the changes to our deductible, which, as I alluded to, the hailstorm ended up in our favor, and we'll talk a little bit more about that because it was more of a per event rather than a per building coverage. This year, ironically, if you notice the date on that notice, the important notice to policy holders about roofs was April 27th, so 12 days after a very major hailstorm. There was the exclusion that came in about roofs. And to summarize high level, it's anything 15 years or older, they will only insure at actual cash value, not replacement costs. And then cosmetic roof exclusions. So we have a lot of metal roofs, Sunflower, this building, the Blue Barn, Adult Ed, Alternative School building. Those are all metal buildings, so if they get dented up, they're not going to cover that. If they're to the point that they're leaking, obviously that would be a functional issue. If it's only cosmetic, they're not going to pay to fix cosmetic damage. So again, all the limitations just to be aware of. But the roofs, again, that's a big one too, as we'll talk about with the insurance claim, but 15 years old. It's not how old the roof, I mean, all of our buildings are older than that. But if the roof's been restored, that resets that clock. So again, why it's important for us to keep up with those things and why we spend so much capital outlay dollars to do that. And in the past, it was bond money, but now capital outlay to maintain those. So, but you can see in there, this year, the property insurance renewal has an increase of $24,856. And that is quite a bit less than last year. Last year, that started out, I want to say, it was almost $62,000 increase, and then we made the deductible changes, which saved us around $40,000-ish. So it's pretty comparable to last year's increase, but $24,856 on just the property. So I'll kind of blur the two action items together a little bit and talk about the work comp while we're at it. Even though we approve them separate because they are technically separate policies, we'll talk about them at the same time. So the work comp, again, it's all based on usage, just like the other with the liability and other things. There's a mod rating when it comes to your work comp, and that's basically your experience factor. And you can see in my board report that we had been a 1.57 mod, so 1.0 is kind of par or even. So, you know, that's your target, which we were there a few years ago. And then we went up to 1.57. General rule of thumb is for every one that you're above par, you're paying a 1% premium. For every one you're below, you're getting a 1% discount. So this year, our mod rating did go down from the 1.57 to 1.35. So theoretically, that rule of thumb, we're paying 35% more for our work comp coverage because of our claims experience. So if we were to drop below that, then obviously it would be theoretically a discount. So the mod rating did come down, but just because of the claims experience and things there, we're still getting an increase of about $6,500. It's about a 5% increase. For us, as you know, we host the co-op, and roughly speaking, half our staff are co-op and half are district. So that cost is split between the district and the co-op, 50-50. So, you know, our part is $3,273 of an increase. So pretty much a flat renewal on that. So anyway, that's the two changes there on the two policies. So again, it's still an increase overall, but compared to the past, it's not nearly as much. So it's hard to get too excited about increasing costs, but you know, I guess we just have to expect that every year. Last year, again, I said we made those deductible changes. You could always do that, but all you're doing is accepting more exposure, more liability in exchange for less premium. So we don't really have anything like that we're recommending for this year. The insurance claim, though, I mentioned that we had never, in my almost 20 years, had a property claim. We've had vehicle claims because we've had some accidents. We've had glass, so not counting vehicles. Buildings, we've not had a building property claim. Well, that went away on April 15th. So vehicles, we had 17 vehicles damaged. They've already paid us $108,000 on that. And that's the base. We're just starting to get those into the repair shops. And so already 2 of them had supplements. So it's going to be even more than the $108,000. The buildings, EMC advanced us $100,000 to make temporary repairs to primarily the middle school and the high school, the roofs and the skylights. And that $100,000, we've issued purchase orders for the roofs and everything, and I'd say we're at $85,000 we've already spent. Just fixing the skylights at the high school, I believe it's the high school, $6,500 just temporary. These roof repairs, they actually brought in the materials today and they'll be getting up there and fixing that. So it's very expensive. That claim, it will easily be, I said this in my board, or 7 figures. It'll be $1 million plus claim when it's all said and done. Might even be a lot higher than might surprise a lot of us. But there's a lot of roof damage at the middle school, the high school, and then we have asphalt shingled roofs just like your homes. The mobile behind Sunflower, it will need a roof. The baseball and softball dugouts at the sports complex, they're all asphalt shingles. The concession stand up there, the shelter house. So you add all this together, it will be multiple of $1 million claim. So I guess thankfully we have the insurance, and let's see what next year's conditional renewal looks like. But for now, we're working through all that. It's taken a lot of people's time, and it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving for many, many, many months. So, questions on the renewals or the insurance claim that's pending? Anything I can help with? All right, thank you.
Motion to approve the insurance renewal.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you.
Motion to approve workers' compensation renewal.
Motion and a second. Sean? Yep. All those in favor? 6-0. All right, last up for action, authorizing superintendent and board clerk to make transfers and expenditures to complete the 25-26 school year budget.
Yeah, and that's just our annual authorization for Matt and I to close it out, make the transfers. You'll always see that in my July board report, as will the public, all the memo of all the final closures and expenditures. And then you're gonna get to hear a lot more about that in July and August, so. Be prepared
Bring your
for
snacks.
that, yes, absolutely. So anyway, this just allows us to make the transfers and closeouts and pay final bills. And of course, you'll see all that in July, but it saves us having a year-end meeting and rushing that through. And because we don't typically ever know what day we're gonna have the closeout done, but hopefully several days ahead of June 30th. But that's what that resolution is all about.
Okay.
Motion to authorize superintendent board clerk to make transfers of expenditures.
A second. Motion in a second. All those in favor? 6-0.
Thanks.
Okay, Madam President, I move that we go into executive session to discuss personnel, pursuant to personnel matters of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of the individuals to be discussed, and that we return to open session in this room at 7:15.
Perfect. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? 6-0. So thanks. Got it.
Madam President, I move that we go into executive session with Superintendent Meek to discuss matters pursuant to personnel of non-elected personnel in order to protect the privacy interests of the individuals to be discussed. We return to open session in this room at, let's do 7:31.
Yep. I have a motion, do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second, all those in favor? 6.
Weather review?
Jamie, motion.
Oh gosh, guys, we gotta go. It's
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not doing this again. I love y'all.
Motion.
No. Jane could
Oh,
take it.
motion, second.
More practice, right?
Motion to adjourn?
Mm-hmm.
I motion to adjourn.
Do I have a
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? All right.
Is it really supposed to get bad weather tomorrow?
I don't know.
Tomorrow?